Hello, hola, bonjour, ciao, konnichiwa, namaste, everyone. Welcome to Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself, Sheryl Gotchell, as we share our thoughts on what's happening in the celestial realms right now. And we're stepping into a brand new year. The universe is buzzing with celestial energy, ready to shape our paths in extraordinary ways. This is a big year. So whether you're an astrology enthusiast or just curious about how the cosmos impacts our lives, our podcast is produced every full moon and new moon to help us all grasp the cosmic patterns that influence everything from our moods to our major life decisions and what's happening on the world stage. And I want to say here, Babula, kapow. So we explore the planetary alignments and the retrogrades and lunar cycles to help us make the stars our ally and
Yeah.
work with them as we explore what's shaping the year ahead. So tune in with us every 2 weeks as we decode the wisdom of the cosmos to help us align with our highest potential personally and collectively. So let's make this year one of transformation, manifestation, and cosmic connection. So the build of the stars are waiting for us. So let's kick off the year ahead.
Okay. Yeah, as you said, kapow. The year definitely has started off with a bang and not a whimper. It's made its presence felt immediately. And one of the big players in that, of course, we talked quite a lot about this last time, but it's going to continue to be very center stage, is Mars. So we'll talk about that. And there's something I forgot to mention about Mars last time that I really do want to refer to. But before we get to Mars, the north node and the south nodes of the moon, which is an axis across the sky to do with the orbit of the moon as it's going around the Earth, as the Earth's going around the sun, they're crossing lines in the sky. And that's not a very technical explanation, but they're not planets. The nodes it's an axis in space. And they change signs every 18 to 19 months. And that's about to happen. So the North Node has been in Aries for the last 18 to 19 months, and the South Node in the opposite sign of Libra.
Mm.
And they're about to move. Now, they don't move forward through the signs. They're not planets, so they're not moving in the same way. They're actually moving backwards through the signs. So right now, that means that the North Node is sitting at 0 degrees of Aries, which is a degree in the zodiac that is so important and is so up in 2025. And this is the first sort of marker, really, of that 0 degrees of Aries.
Mm.
But in this case, because the nodes move backwards, it's not then going to move forward through Aries. It's actually coming out of Aries and going back into Pisces. Yeah, because there's going to be enough Aries energy to deal with without the North Node there as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and of course, what planet rules the sign of Aries? It's Mars. So we're particularly in the first few months of this year, Mars is a very, very strong energetic influence. As during the first 4 months of 2025, there's going to be a bunch of planets, bunch being a technical term, a bunch of planets crossing that axis, that cusp between Pisces and Aries and going backwards and forwards over them. And this is the first marker of that.
Yeah.
So we could talk for hours about that alone. In fact, I'm talking about that very thing. It's one of my lectures at the conference. It's actually about that Aries Pisces story.
Yeah.
And so, yes, on January the 12th, the North Node will enter the sign of Pisces, and it will move slowly back through the 30 degrees of the sign of Pisces over the coming 18 and a half months or so. And that means that at the other end of the nodal axis of the great celestial dragon, which is what in Vedic astrology they call the nodal axis, it's the dragon, So the tail of the dragon, the south node, will be in the opposite sign of Virgo. So the nodes are always sitting across an axis of two opposite signs, and we all have, north and south node in our own birth charts. We were born with a particular placement, and it's a very karmic alignment, the north and south node.
Mm.
And the south node very simply represents what we are releasing, because it's the tail of the dragon, what is passing out and what is being released that is no longer required. And the north node is like the mouth of the dragon. We're taking in something new and we're digesting and processing something new. So we're all going to be going through, even though we've already been through a major and still are Piscean story for some time, it's still with us, this Piscean energy of surrender, release, overwhelm, sensitivity, feelings, but also very much attunement with finer spiritual energies as well.
Mm. Mm.
And so the opposite sign, Virgo, is about how we over rely on our mental, analytical mind to figure things out. And Pisces is saying, no, we need to now be developing more and more our inner sense of intuition, trust, of faith, tuning in, feeling, trusting our own inner gut feeling about things, and relying less on that analytical. And I'm not dissing Virgo, it's an amazing sign, but that's what this nodal process is going to be about.
Yeah. I think with the Pisces movement, there's a real longing to merge with something greater, isn't there?
There
So
really is.
so that sort of catalyzes something within us to want to look for something more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have had clients come to me over the years to say, my life's missing something. There's got to be a deeper meaning to it, to my existence. But I just feel something's missing.
Yeah.
But with Neptune in the wash there, and I say wash, there could be a bit of confusion. May not know where to begin with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But then I see the South Node in Virgo jumping in and saying, well, let's see how we can make these dreams of yours come true, this and find this deeper meaning or whatever your higher aspirations are. Because as you know, Virgo is a sign of service too. So
Yes.
it wants to achieve, it wants to help us do that, but in a way that works smarter, not harder, I think. So
Yeah.
you get more done with less.
Yeah.
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 So it sort of says, okay, you've got this dream, this aspiration. Well, and it's not about bringing it into manifestation like how can I say, like Saturn might say, okay, well, where's the reality here? It's not that sort of thing. It's sort of like, well, let me help you bring that in. Let's find solutions to that and make that happen.
Yes, because ultimately the nodal axis at any given time, as in now or in our own chart, it's about both of the signs. So we're not trying to kind of get rid of the south node. It doesn't work that way. It's not being over reliant on that analytical Virgo, like work till you drop. It's bringing in more of that Pisces energy that you're talking about, and the dream. And then how do we bring that into reality? What steps do we need to take, and so
Yeah.
what are the details? Because Pisces is the big picture, of which there are no boundaries and limitations at all. And Virgo is very specific, isn't it? It's very specific. But both of these signs, you were touched on something very important here. Both of these signs together are about service.
Yes.
Yeah, service and healing, and what might I need to be letting go of so that I can be more available and be of service during this time on the planet. And that will show up in people's lives in very particular ways according to their situation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
And help us organize our lives so we can do that.
that's right. And be more available. That's right.
Yeah.
But also taking care of ourselves in the mix of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So burnout can be an issue here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because, Pisces has a tendency to want to save everybody and everything, right? And, there are limitations to that. But one person on their own simply cannot achieve that as much as a
Yeah.
Pisces would
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, So yes, that's a very significant moment on January the 12th when the nodal axis shifts. And that means then, of course, over the next 18 months, 2 years, the eclipses are going to be showing up in Virgo and Pisces
Mm.
because the eclipses are always in alignment with the North and South nodes,
Mm. Mm.
whereas they've been in Aries, Libra. Now
Yeah.
going to be happening in Virgo Pisces. So we'll be looking at those through the year too.
That's an interesting movement, isn't it? That shift
Yeah.
from that situation, like we versus me, to more of a, let's make these dreams come true, and or aspirations for humanity, even because we've got
Yes.
Pluto and Aquarius all in the background there, and
Yes.
and so it's a sense of a softer energy too,
Yeah.
not much
Yeah.
so much of a struggle.
Yes. And
Mm.
and it's very visionary, isn't it? It's what is the dream? What is the vision? What is, let's really imagine what is really possible.
Yeah, yeah,
And why not?
yeah.
Because things aren't working terribly well at the moment on planet Earth, and nor have they for some time.
No, and this, yeah, anyway, we'll put another
Yes,
conversation.
that's right. That's right. So the following day on January the 13th, Mars, which is now, by the way, on the 6th of January, Mars actually still in retrograde motion, where he's going to be for some time. He's in retrograde for 10 weeks. Moved back out of Leo and back into Cancer. And
Mm,
that's interesting because the nodes are moving from fire, the North Node's moving from fire Aries to Pisces water,
mm.
as Mars retrograde is moving out of fire Leo into water Cancer.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so really all year there's this amazing story around fire and water, fire and water, fire and water.
You get a lot of mist when you put them together.
Well, yes, and of course, hasn't there been an issue around mist and so-called fog?
I know, it's bizarre.
It really is.
Anyone who isn't aware of it, Google mystery fog around the planet.
That's right. And I've been sort of tuning into this morning as well. These fires that are happening in California are absolutely massive,
Mm,
and there's no water to put them out.
I know, I know. Yeah,
There's fire and water. I think we're going to see a lot around fire and water in very literal ways, but also energetically.
yeah. Mars and as Mars in Cancer. It's not happy there. It's not really great. Um,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, if you think about the animal, if you think about the representation, Mars is direct. It wants to go
Yes.
straight ahead, but Cancer moves from side to side. The crab, you see it on the beach like this.
Yeah.
There are very different sort of movement in whatever, you know.
They really, really are. And Cancer's nature is to be very protective of itself and loved ones and those close, and it will withdraw and close off, in self-protection mode and
Yeah.
so on. But if you also think about a crab, how does a crab defend itself? I mean, first of all, it will go down into its little burrow under the sand. That's its first instinct.
Mm,
But if confronted, what will it do? It will attack with those claws.
mm, mm.
And I've seen that with Cancer. If Cancer is really pushed and finds no way to withdraw or escape a situation, it will come out and attack.
Yeah,
And and it's going to hold on. That's
yeah,
because it's trying to protect itself and defend its territory or its life. So Mars in retrograde going through Cancer can have that very strong sense of, I'll do anything to protect and defend myself or my loved ones, or my home, so there is that side to it, but it's it's like the heat of Mars, because Mars is a hot energy.
Yeah. Hot, hot.
Yeah, it's hot, it's red hot, can
Yeah.
really stir up emotions
Yeah.
stir up those waters of all our feelings in Cancer.
Yeah. I think, the warrior, Mars, the warrior side, it wants to power through, but Cancer's sort of snuggled up under its doona, and having a good old cry. And so those energies are really working at cross purposes, and
Mm,
and that magnifies the frustrations that Mars
mm,
feels as well.
mm.
And
Yeah,
that sets off the Cancerian fears and anxieties, doesn't it? Of the
yes.
big bad world out there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just feel much safer here under the doona. Thank you very much. So there might be, it's an energy of, I want to stay here and in my own little bubble. But Mars is saying, no, come on, get out there. Like, are you done crying yet? Let's go.
Yeah. Yes, it's such a complex combination, this one, because there's so much going on with Mars
Yeah.
and Mars energy and Aries and so on. And like if someone with Cancer energy is feeling really tired and they just need time out and they need solitude and quiet, and someone comes banging on their door, their instinct is just to yell, go away.
Yes.
And they can get really pissed off,
Yeah.
go away, leave me alone, can be just an immediate response.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's really interesting. You just triggered my memory. Yesterday, I was with my daughter who is Sun in Cancer.
Hmm.
She said, "Oh, I just feel so tired. I just want to, she slept for like something like 12 hours the previous day. She was just really tired and worn out and feeling anxious."
Yes,
There you go,
that's right.
yeah,
And I remember very well when I was young and had very young children and babies, and I have a Cancer moon. Lacking sleep, really tired, fun to get babies to sleep, and someone would come knocking on the door. And I remember what it brought up in me, like it was just fury and wanting to scream, like, and really curse at them, go away and leave me alone. And
yes, yeah,
yeah, it's that very, I can't deal with this right now. I need to be in my own protective space. So there's a lot, I think, just personally for people, there can be a lot of this going on, and Mars kind of is really stirring all that up because it does.
mm,
So on the 13th, Mars at 27 of Cancer, retrograde will be making a trine to Neptune still in Pisces. So it's very emotionally sensitive, possibly agitated kind of few days around that
right, yeah,
as we build up to the full moon, which is in Cancer.
yeah,
And it's a doozy. Any astrologer talking about this full moon will be using words like that because it is. The full moon is in the sign of Cancer, and I've actually highlighted. So here it is over here. I don't know if people can see this, but that's the full moon. It's sitting right here next to the retrograde Mars in Cancer. Of course, the full moon's always opposite the sun, which is in Capricorn, square to the black moon Lilith in Libra, and all of this is square to Eris and Chiron. So there's this incredibly tight grand cross in these four cardinal signs, all sitting around the 23 degrees of those four signs. So it's very dynamic. A lot of different energies pushing up against each other from these four corners, and cardinal signs are very dynamic energies that are all purposeful. We have strong will through the cardinal signs to push forward and make things happen. And the presence of Mars here, retrograde, right on that moon, and square to Eris and Chiron in Aries, ruled by Mars, and square to the black moon, Lilith.
oh my goodness,
I mean, it's just a lot.
yes,
And it's very, and there is as we know, and we say this a lot, but it's very true. There is a lot happening in the world on so many fronts.
Yes. Yeah.
in so many countries.
Well, well, we could say discord and chaos, but that's the Eris, isn't it?
That's
That's
right. That's the Eris. Yeah,
yeah,
she's really on fire.
absolutely. Like the guy
Yeah.
Charlie, you know.
Yeah. Well, Kali, the asteroid Kali is sitting right on the sun,
Oh gosh.
exactly opposite this full moon. So she's in there too.
Oh my goodness.
And the asteroid Persephone, Queen of the Underworld, she's
Mhm.
also on the sun.
Yeah.
And I like to check out to see what the asteroids are doing, if they're active on any of these things. And also the asteroid Prometheus, which is
Gave fire to humanity, didn't he?
that's right,
Yeah.
fire again. So California is burning as we speak. I mean, it's horrendous, but it's all represented by these astrological energies. And, whatever point of view we take on how these fires started, speaking astrologically is irrelevant, really. The fact is it's happening and it's represented by these energies very much. The other thing that I wanted to bring in about Mars was that Mars is what we call out of bounds. And I'll just explain that simply because sometimes when we're born, some of us will have a planet or two or even a few planets that are what we call out of bounds. And very simply, the sun, as it's throughout its years, it's moving north and south of the equator. It gets furthest north at the Tropic of Cancer at 23.5 degrees. And then it turns south, crosses the equator, turns south, gets to 23.5 of Capricorn, which is in Queensland, as we know. And that's the range of movements as all the planets are orbiting around the sun. They're all orbiting within that range, within that pathway of 23.5 degrees north and south. Every now and then a planet goes, I'm out of here. And it crosses the boundary and it's out of bounds. Like in some games, I don't know, like football, cricket, various things, a ball goes out of bounds. It's gone over the boundary line. It's
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And that energy for that, and it could last for days or weeks or even a few months in some cases. Mars is currently out of bounds, will be for some time while it's retrograde.
Okay.
And so when it's out of bounds, it's behaving in a very maverick, independent way and saying, I'm not obeying the rules. Right? I'm doing my own thing. I'm out here. I've gone out beyond the boundary line and I've gone maverick,
Mm. Mhm.
right? A bit renegade.
Mm.
And that can be, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that currently it's another piece in the reason why Mars is just so strong at the moment.
So there's all of that together creates like it's a trigger happy time, isn't it?
Very.
Everyone's just paused.
Yes. And there's this sense of like, like when there's an alert, you can see these flashing red lights, like alert, alert, alert. And we might see it in the streets. You might be noticing more ambulances speeding by with their flashing lights. Like I just went down one of my local streets the other day. I was on my way to yoga. And there was all these orange flashing lights ahead of me. I thought, what's going on up there? And there had been a big crash with about 3 cars, thankfully, but it was all the tow trucks there with all the orange lights. And I thought, police cars. And so, it's that kind of energy. So we all need to be very aware that very, very volatile Mars energy is very present. It's very up. It can be potentially explosive. And it's still in opposition to Pluto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and the squares to Chiron in Aries and Eris in Aries. And also, I noticed the asteroid Hygeia is sitting there right there with Chiron and Aries. So for some people, this can manifest as injuries.
Yeah. Could also be like cathartic experiences? Do you think things that
Yes.
bring up stuff, you know?
Yes, that's right. It could be a real cathartic release through anger, or because it's a Cancer full moon, sometimes when a lot of water signs will know this, or if they have Mars in a water sign, sometimes a release of anger underneath it can be a lot of tears. Or if getting angry is not easy for someone, they might be crying while they're trying to express their anger. You know, it's like it's all
Yes.
mixed in there together. There's a lot of emotion.
Yeah. So this is sort of, sorry,
No, go on.
just going to say this is sort of a good, this is a time when our shadows will come up and we need to,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And because of the inclusion of the Black Moon Lilith in this story, in the sign of Libra, so this is the Libran corner of the Cardinal Cross. For some people, this might be getting triggered in their relationships. Yeah. Like big emotional storms coming through. And like these fires in California, apparently the winds, one of the reasons it spread for like 160 K winds, which is
Yeah.
like a cyclone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the UK at the moment. There's a lot going on everywhere. And of course, the inauguration in the States is only 10 days away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a very, very volatile time. So it's just, I think it's just very helpful that we have the astrological lens to make some sense of this and to help. As you said in the introduction, how do we work with this in the best way that we can, with this knowledge and
rise above it and process things in us. And
yeah,
I think, when you're forewarned, you're forearmed for things too, aren't you?
yes,
You can prepare for things that and go, okay, well, I might be a bit more volatile at the moment. Well, I'll just have to tamper that down.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I am paying attention when I'm driving. If I'm running a bit late and feeling a bit like, I want to push it, I'm reminding myself this is not a good time to be doing that. Slow down. Who cares if you're 5 minutes late? It's fine. And usually I'm not late anyway. It's just remind.
Can I have that in writing?
Some people might beg to differ. or I make it just on time, but I'm the last one in the door. Yeah, like we need to just be very aware and conscious and take it easy out there. And we're going to be, our buttons are going to be pushed very easily because everything's kind of on this, it feels almost like a knife edge and everything's on the edge of its seat. So yeah, how do we, there's still a lot in Pisces. So I think that that's really helpful. Like there's a Venus-Saturn conjunction coming up in Pisces. We need to be very conscious and aware of taking those moments and times out to pause, to stop, to rest. For me, it's getting on my yoga mat. If I can just get myself on the floor onto my mat, then I'd start doing some yoga and everything sort of settles right down and take a breath, just taking some space. Or for some people, it might be music or art or taking time out to clear our own space, to quieten things down, calm things down.
Do you want to talk about that Venus-Saturn conjunction?
Yeah, sure. That kicks in on the 19th. That will be, when I say that, it means it's exact on the 19th.
Yeah.
But really, even from the full moon and over that whole week, Venus is coming in behind Saturn and she'll exactly be with Saturn on the 19th. And then some days later, she'll just be kind of pulling away, but still very close. So Venus loves being in Pisces, which is where she currently is. And it's a very helpful thing for really tuning into our heart. Like I'm giving myself Reiki regularly and, making sure I'm, hands are on my heart and breathing into my heart and just feeling everything calm and quieten down. However is our favorite way of really tuning in, particularly to the heart space, really, really helpful. Like that's really available right now. When Venus joins up with Saturn, that can be actually quite a helpful combination, because I've noticed between couples in a relationship, if they have a nice contact between Venus and Saturn, it helps to strengthen the bond and the commitment between two people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
That's right.
it brings a serious tone to our relationships. If you're at a stage in the relationships where you're going, okay, well, what's the next step? Is there going
Yeah,
to be a longer term commitment here?
that's
Actually,
right.
I didn't see some marriage proposals in that time.
Absolutely, because Pisces is very romantic.
Yeah, yeah, but
And Venus to Saturn, is, well, let's commit to this.
yeah,
Or it can be, where are we at in the relationship? Are we going to go forward? And if so, that will be a commitment, or is it time to call this off because actually it doesn't feel like a relationship I want to commit to right now?
yeah. And it also raises like monetary matters, so it's about being responsible and realistic with our approach to money, how we use,
Yes.
all that's how do we invest it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because Pisces money can just run through your fingers.
Yeah, yeah,
It doesn't hold on to anything. It's just, you're just going with the flow and not really paying close attention to the actual data, to what's going on in your bank account or in your wallet.
how did that happen?
Yeah, what happened? That's right. So it might be, making, like, okay, I need to pull this in. I need to rein this in. Like my daughter, she said, yeah, just the other day, something like, oh my God, money's just going out every day at the moment. I don't know what's happening, and so but she's aware of it now, and she's trying to rein that in.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So that's where we can make it our ally, isn't it?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It could also be for someone who's very creative and artistic or musical. They might be perhaps committing to a new piece of work or taking on a course of study or something like that around something very artistic and creative, which is very nice with this combination,
Mm,
you
mm,
know?
mm.
Yeah. But I think it's really important. It can be also as simple as, okay, I've got a lot on my plate. I need to schedule a day in my diary this week where I just go to the beach, right? And make a clear decision and a commitment to do that. And that could be exactly what you need for your mental and emotional health and well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making a clear choice and decision instead of just letting everything happen in an overwhelming sort of I was going to say lackadaisical, so I will lackadaisical kind of a way. Yeah.
Oh,
The,
and
the other thing, Cheryl, about this North Node,
yes.
while we're in Pisces, just moving, and you can see it here, like I've circled it. So
Mm,
there's on the date of the new moon, by then the North Node will absolutely be in Pisces. And so it's going to start moving back through the sign of Pisces, while Neptune, having been in Pisces for 14 years, is actually making its way forward. They are together and they're going to be together now for some time. And there will be a date, did I make, on February the 7th, they will be exact at 28 degrees. And that there's a lot going on with Neptune this year. And again, that's another important marker, Neptune conjunct the North Node.
yeah.
Really, from now all the way through February, that's going to be very strong. So
Yeah.
people can be feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, confused, all over the place.
I think I was flicking through the chart, going around the wheel, and I think I came up somewhere in March. There's about 6 planets or 6 things happening in Pisces. I went, whoa,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Building up, isn't it?
Building up. And then they're sort of crossing into Aries and back into Pisces. There's this it's like a gang of energies all doing this movement across those two signs. It's quite extraordinary, actually.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy one to sort of decipher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very nebulous, Pisces, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's just so many different things, so many different parts. It's like all these different moving parts with different energies and themes all in the mix and all moving but and crossing over each other. I mean, for astrologers, fascinating time to be observing and noticing. You know, I bought myself a big book to write, just to write what I'm noticing, what I'm observing, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, to try and keep track of it a bit.
Yes, I think we will be seeing many things emerging out of this intangible space.
Yes,
Let's put it that way.
yes. Many, many, many new things emerging
Mm.
once we're through all of this. So, yes,
And we got the sun moving into Aquarius.
yes. So then on the 20th, the sun moves into Aquarius, change of energy completely.
Mm.
And of course, it will join with Pluto the following day, because Pluto is now at 1 degree of Aquarius. And so around that time of the sun changing signs, is going to be doing so with the planet Pluto. So we get another window. This is one of the things I love about astrology. You know, you get a glimpse of the energy of Pluto in Aquarius while the sun's joining with it. You know, it's going to really highlight and
Mm.
shed a lot of light on that energy. And I think, and of course, that's the inauguration date,
Yeah,
which is, yeah, the inauguration date is Sun conjunct Pluto in at 1 degree of Aquarius.
mm.
That's pretty, talk about something very new and powerful and transformative being initiated, you know?
And unexpected, I think, and
Yeah.
unusual. I think it's the
Yes.
unusual nature of it.
Yes. It's going to be very, and I think even the ceremony will probably be very, very different. There'll be something very different going on there.
Yeah, that's that sun moving into Aquarius. It shifts the focus towards innovation. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
forward thinking projects, endeavors,
Yeah. Yeah.
and community.
Yeah.
Embracing new ideas. That'd be nice.
Yes. Yes.
Depends what they are.
Well, that's right, because that's right.
Not
Yeah.
all, not all ideas are great.
No, and there's always the shadow, of course. But, you know, it's that time of year where astrologers get very busy. I mean, we do at the beginning of the year anyway.
Yeah.
But once the sun and some of those inner planets move into Aquarius, because it aligns so much with astrology.
Mm.
Um, like, you know, I start running my courses when the sun's gone into Aquarius. You know, I wait until that's usually in early February,
Yeah.
because the energy is absolutely ripe and perfect. You know, it's an energetic fit, you know, for the astrology class to begin and everybody come together during that period. And
Yeah.
it'll because we're starting that, you know, on that Pluto Sun conjunction, you know, it'll be really powerful
Yeah. Yeah.
for everybody. And then on the 28th, Mercury will very happily move into Aquarius. So he's currently in Capricorn.
Yeah.
Mercury loves being in Aquarius.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really good, actually,
Yeah, yeah,
in the positive side.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Because the the mental body is going to be really switched on
Yeah.
and really operating at its best at a very high level.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see more people awakening to all sorts of things.
I certainly hope so. Like how crazy does it have to get?
Yeah. Hey, 2025, I've got in my diary, year of weird. Like,
Ah, Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes. So there is this absolutely the potential for a lot more of, and when we say awakening, that looks there's so many different ways that looks like awakening to what?
Yeah.
And there's waking up to more of the truth of what's going on in this world and how it really operates and how it's really being run and what's really behind it. So there's all of that. But then there's another level of awakening, which is a spiritual awakening, which isn't always exactly the same thing.
No, no.
So, yeah, it's like Aquarius to me is an energy that has a lot of light, and it's the light of consciousness itself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like someone switches on a light. Those moments that we all have sometimes that we just go, oh, now I get it. I see it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's really important to be able to, like if you if you go, oh, 2025, another year from hell. But it's like about having the rising above it and seeing the big picture of everything. That's really the what Aquarius is all about, isn't it?
exactly.
What is the big picture here, and what are all these little cogs in the wheel that we're seeing that are
Yeah,
happening? But and how does that fit into that big picture?
exactly. So we just keep zooming back, don't we? Zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. And so we get, like an eagle, he sees so much more than a mouse on the ground
Yep.
because he's up high and he's seeing the bigger view. That's so important with Aquarius.
Mm, mm. So
And it's a cosmic view as well, as you well know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So there's a lot going around that inauguration date too, isn't there? Like all these things that we've been talking about, some of them are continuing in the background.
Yes, yes,
So Eris is hanging around there, Mars retrograde
yes.
around there, and so you got the god of war going head to head with the goddess of discord and chaos.
And
Yeah,
and 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 Lilith as well.
yes, exactly.
Lilith Kali, like that's a lot.
Yeah, but I was reading because I don't have this stuff in my head all the time, but I have, Eris is also the goddess of earnest endeavor. So when things are hard and impossible, Eris helps us to have staying power and see things through. So she's not all bad,
No,
but she's not an easy pill to swallow either.
no, no. She's a trigger. She's going to trigger things.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know she's often referred to as a whistleblower. She's going to upset the apple cart
yeah,
and be very provocative in
yeah,
order to bring about change and to face things that need to be faced,
yeah.
but it can cause a lot of chaos in the process.
But chaos always precedes a new order,
Exactly.
and that's cool with me.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It can get very tumultuous, and we live in a very tumultuous time.
Mm.
That's for sure. Well, then that sort of brings us to the new moon on January the 29th, and that will be at 9 degrees 51 minutes of Aquarius. So that really highlights and initiates the Aquarius energy very strongly on that new moon. And what I love is that very soon after that, 2 days later on the 31st of January, the last day of the month, Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, turns direct,
Okay.
right? So we'll have the sun and the new moon and Mercury all in Aquarius, and Uranus, the ruling planet, now starting to move in direct motion. So all of that Aquarian Uranian energy is going to be up very, very strongly. And a lot is going to happen. And I think a lot's going to happen around what's going on in the skies as well.
Yes. And we've already kicked off the year with that as well. So
Big time.
lots and lots of things happening. Yeah. Wow. Interesting times.
Very, very, very interesting. We're not going to be without things to talk about over these coming months.
No,
That
no.
is for sure. And then just to touch on this too, a few days after that, coming up on February the 4th, Jupiter will turn direct.
Mm.
So it'll be a period where all the planets are moving forward. So
Yeah,
there's incredible momentum of energy.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I have listened to a few astrologers who have said that they think that the first half of the year, or maybe a couple of months after, is sort of like the most tumultuous. Then it'll start to
Yes,
settle down. But next year things will be sort of the fallout will be settling. It won't be fully settled,
yes,
but it will be settling.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree. It's these first 4 or 5 months, particularly of 2025, a lot of energy moving, a lot is up.
mm,
And it's almost, if you're someone, and I like to keep track, not on everything, because who's got time, but I like to keep track on what's going on in the world, because astrologers do, they pay attention.
mm, mm.
But some days, like, you don't know where to look first,
Yes, that's right.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I can feel myself percolating on that already.
I know. You sort of feel like, okay, right,
Yes,
let's go and sit down and have a cup of tea, take a breath.
when we do a podcast, we sort of, we take on the energies of what we're talking about, and at the end,
Yeah,
we feel the energy, how it affects us. And this one is not buzzing. It's like on the edge of the precipice and just waiting to see what happens next.
yeah, yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
thing.
And
Yeah,
it's a day by day thing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting times. All right.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, as always.
Yes, it's been really interesting, and you've given everyone the dates, and anyone who's going to the conference next week, not this weekend, the weekend after, the astrologers conference, I believe now you can actually buy a 1 day ticket if you just want to go down there and listen in for 1 day. You don't have to do the whole 3 days full conference. So we will see you there if you're going, and if not, we will be reporting back.
We shall be. That's right. By the time we do this again next time, we will have been to the conference.
Yes, exactly. So thank you everyone for staying with us this long. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like it. And if you want, subscribe and share with your friends. And we will be back in another 2 weeks to talk about the next lunar cycle. So stay safe, everyone, and we will see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.